Hydrogen cars. We've been hearing about them forever, right? They're the fuel of the future, zero emissions, fill ups in 5 minutes. It's the dream, a dream that's always seemed like it's, just around the corner. Well, it's almost 2026, so what's the real story? Is that corner finally here? Things are, well, they're complicated. Let's get into it. And here's why it's so complicated. On one hand, you've got all the skepticism, for good reason. But on the other, new models are actually showing up and some companies are pouring billions into this tech. So which is it? Is this the big comeback we've all been waiting for, or is it all about to collapse? That's the big question, and we're going to try and answer it. Okay, to really get a handle on the biggest problem here, I want you to look at this. This sounds like a setup for a punchline, but I promise you it is 100% true. In the entire United States, there are more people over the age of 100 than there are hydrogen fueling stations. Just let that sink in for a second. More centenarians than stations. That single wild fact tells you almost everything you need to know about the huge, huge mountain this technology has to climb. All right, so with that interesting fact in mind, what cars are actually out there? Let's take a look at the lineup for 2026. So first up, we've got the all-new Hyundai Nexo. And honestly, on paper, this thing is pretty sweet. They've bumped the horsepower up by a third. You're looking at an estimated range of over 400 miles. And the inside, it actually feels like a legit premium SUV, not some weird science experiment. But, and this is a massive but, you're almost definitely not going to be able to buy one unless you live in California. So there's... Okay, what about Toyota's flagship, the Mirai? Well, for 2026, Toyota has pulled out all the stops for a huge update. Ready for it? It gets new 19-inch black wheels. Yep. That's it. I am not joking. When you're only selling about 157 of these things a year, I guess it's hard to justify much more. It kind of feels like even Toyota has no idea what to do with this car. Now, Honda's approach is actually really interesting. They've got this new CR-V, but it's a hybrid like you've never seen before. It's a plug-in and a fuel cell, so you can plug it in for your short daily commute, run on battery. But for long road trips, you've got the hydrogen. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Except at the same time, Honda is pulling the plug on its big fuel cell partnership with GM. So what's the message here? Are they in or are they out? It's confusing. So let's recap. We've got some new cars, some cool tech, but you pretty much can't buy them anywhere. And that brings us right to the giant elephant in the room. Let's talk about America's infrastructure, or really the lack thereof. I mean, just look at this. It says it all. Gas stations in the US, about 168,000. EV chargers, we're up to around 70,000 of those now. And hydrogen stations, 74. Not 74,000, just 74 for the entire country. The difference is it's staggering. It's almost not a real comparison. And it gets worse. It's not just that there are so few stations. The handful that do exist are, well, a nightmare. Look at this. These are real, actual alerts from California's station map. Out of service unexpectedly, offline for an extended period, limited filling capability. Imagine driving your new car, running low on fuel, and this is what you see. For the very, very few people who own these cars, this is a constant source of anxiety. So why? Why is it so bad? Well, a huge part of the answer is this number, $4 million. That's how much it can cost to build one single hydrogen fueling station. Just one. For some perspective, a really good high-end fast charger for an EV, that might set you back 150 grand. This is a whole different level of expensive. Okay, but what if we wanted to go all in? What if we wanted to replace all the gas stations in the US with hydrogen? Well, get ready for a truly mind-boggling number. The estimate is around $500 billion, 500 billion. That's just a number so big it's hard to even wrap your head around. The financial challenge is just astronomical. And all of this leads to the ultimate classic standoff, the chicken and egg problem, right? Automakers look at the 74 stations and say, why would we build a ton of cars nobody can fuel up? And the fuel companies look at the tiny number of cars and say, why would we spend billions on stations for cars that nobody owns? It's a total stalemate. EVs kind of dodge this problem because everyone has an electrical outlet at home. Hydrogen doesn't have that home base advantage. Okay, so the picture in the US looks pretty grim. I get it. But that is not the whole story, not by a long shot. If you look overseas, you'll see a completely different reality, where some countries are making huge, national-level bets on hydrogen. So let's see who's really going all in. And when you compare the strategies, it is literally night and day. The US approach? It's stalled, it's pretty much all in California, there's no real national plan. But then you look at places like South Korea, Japan, or Germany. For them, this isn't just about clean air, it's about energy independence. They don't have their own oil. So what do you see? You see massive government investment, clear national strategies, plans for thousands of stations, and even pipelines being built. It is a completely different universe. And it's not just governments either. You've got major players like BMW betting big. They are dead serious about this, preparing for series production of fuel cell cars. They're not just trying to make an eco-friendly science project. They're trying to build a high-performance, desirable BMW that just happens to run on hydrogen. So that begs the question, right? Why is a performance brand like BMW so into this? Well, it really comes down to the core technology itself. So let's do a super quick breakdown of how these things actually work, because the science is actually pretty cool. Believe it or not, it's a beautifully simple process. You've got hydrogen stored in a tank, you take oxygen from the air around you, you feed them into the fuel cell. A chemical reaction happens, and poof, you get electricity. That electricity spins the motor and makes the car go. And the only thing that comes out the tailpipe, clean water vapor. That's it. No smog, no carbon dioxide, just water. Okay, but let's talk about the big one, safety. A tank full of highly pressurized hydrogen? That sounds kind of terrifying, right? But the reality is, it's maybe even safer than gasoline. Think about a gas leak in a crash. It pulls on the ground, it's a huge fire hazard. Hydrogen is 14 times lighter than air. If there's a leak, it just shoots straight up and disappears into the atmosphere. Plus, the tanks themselves are absolute beasts. They're engineered to withstand insane impacts. All right, we've talked about the cars, the absolute disaster of an infrastructure here in the States, and what the rest of the world is doing. So let's tie this all together. What's the final verdict? Should you actually care about any of this in 2026? When you boil it all down, this is what it looks like. The wins are really compelling. A 5-minute refuel, a 400-plus mile range, no range anxiety, and they work great in the freezing cold. That sounds awesome. But then you look at the loses column, and it's brutal. The infrastructure is terrible, the cars are expensive, the stations are unreliable, and this last one is a big deal. Most of the hydrogen produced today isn't even green. It's made from natural gas, which kind of defeats the whole purpose. Truly clean green hydrogen is still super rare and expensive. So when you lay it all out like that, a different picture starts to emerge. Maybe, just maybe, hydrogen's real future isn't about passenger cars at all. It's about the big stuff. Long-haul trucks, city buses, container ships, industrial equipment. For these things, where you have a central depot for refueling and you absolutely cannot afford long charging times, hydrogen starts to make a whole lot of sense. Which brings us back to the question we started with. After everything we've talked about, should you go out and buy a hydrogen car? Look, for 99.9% of people, the answer is probably not. It's just not practical. Now, is there an exception? Sure. If you happen to live in the right part of California, you have a high tolerance for frustration with fueling stations, and a car maker offers you an amazing lease deal with like 15 grand of free fuel thrown in, then yeah, maybe it could be a cool experiment. And that really brings us to this old industry saying, which I think just perfectly captures the whole situation. Hydrogen is the future. It always has been, and it always will be. For the passenger cars we drive every day, it seems like that corner is always just a little bit further down the road.